Hi Capricorn, this is your March 2025 soul story. If you have sun, rising or moon in the sign, this is your reading. It's Romy here. Thank you so much for joining me. Okay, we're going to open up this month for you with the energy of the Six of Cups. You may be feeling there are so many tests right now, but you know what? You've already completed the lessons. Please do remember that, because this is a month where you have the opportunity to show yourself, as much as the universe, just how much you've evolved. But it may mean revisiting some things, and perhaps the past version of you is going to show up. And in whatever capacity that happens, just make sure that you're bringing compassion and kindness to the table. This is not a rejecting of the old you, but it is definitely a decisive commitment to embrace the new you. Venus is retrograde in Aries from the 1st of the month, and for this next 40 days and 40 nights you are going deeper and you are getting to know parts of yourself, and perhaps you're even returning to some choices or some themes that might have surfaced 8 years ago, so keep that in your mind. There's something deeply valuable about exploring the experiences that have helped to shape you. And even though there is a power surge energy underway in March between the retrogrades of Venus and Mercury and the eclipse energies, you know, it's a lot happening astrologically, and that intensity can at times create a little bit of discord, but doubt has no place in your progress here. And what this really affords you is to go deeper and to strengthen a resolve. Now, you may be reflecting and reminiscing, and you may even, come back into contact with people or places or passions, and, actually remember how much of a impact and influence they've had on you. And perhaps there's something really valuable just in the realization of that. But the Six of Swords also talks to me about the journey that you're on, the movement, the progress, the rite of passage. And that is, I think, a reminder not to dwell for too long in what has gone or what has been. And it may be feeling that right now the way forward is clouded, or that trajectory shifts, as can often happen in eclipse season, are blindsiding you a little bit and making you sort of contemplate or maybe even feel a bit confused about what that next step is. But the sword that you're holding with that six is really intentional, and I think having some sort of a plan, even if through the course of March there may be a slight crisis of confidence at times, which is, by the way, just the signature of your growth, okay? There's also this, sometimes we just need to act and we can figure out the details later, okay? So if we sit for too long, we can almost like talk ourselves out of something. And I think there'll be a moment when some sort of truth lands for you and you almost owe it to yourself. Now, yes, plans may evolve and shift and change, but I still see that having that clear focus on what it is that you need to attain or achieve or go through in this month of March, that you realize and understand is really significant for your life at the moment, is going to go a long way to just giving you like an anchor point, particularly as things are going to feel like they're in quite a state of flux through the course of March. Now, the Sun trines with Mars on the 7th, and again I feel like it sort of gives you a little bit of a boost around some things. So if you have had a wobble or there's some doubt or uncertainty, I want you to know that this is a time where I feel like you can set a new standard, and it's not about settling, okay? I feel like there's a firm position to take on something to ensure that you don't settle or acquiesce too far in regards to something, okay? Life finds a way, and so will you, Capricorn. I kind of want you to almost have that as your mantra for this month. Ace of Pentacles, you see there's new energy coming through, and these sixes remind you that it's so much about the day-to-day rituals and routines. It's those small decisions that you make that sort of gather together and end up being you know, the thing that helps support a much bigger leap forward. Now, there's a really interesting idea or offer that's forming, but as we come up to the lunar eclipse, full moon in Virgo, we're also being asked to release some control regarding something. And so you may be trying to sort of approach something in a way that can help you feel like you're on, you know, on the sort of the right side of it. It's almost just like, this is what it's going to take in order for me to get this done. But I have a sense that, you know, there's going to be something that's asked of you, or something that comes about that's maybe going to make your initial plan or way to approach something a little bit more tricky, a little bit more complex. That's not to say it's not still valid. That's not to say it's not something that you should still pursue. Nonetheless, I just want you to be open to the fact that there could be something that just gets in the way, and really, again, just notice where perhaps some of these past versions of you are showing up, because, you know, you're going to want to meet and explore where perhaps some of the old ways of thinking or old patterns are just creeping in a little bit. I think you get a helping hand though with regards to something. So if you do feel somewhat challenged around that time, and notice if you're becoming overly critical or, you know, judgy towards yourself, or even if you're feeling that a little bit from others, there's also a helping hand that seems to come forth and show you a way through. Now, when you consider that, and maybe it's an option or an opportunity that's presented, in the first instance you may discount something. You may think, no, that's not for me, or it's not coming from a source that you feel is reliable, or it just doesn't sort of land for you or resonate for you in some way, shape or form. I think that you might have a second thought about that, and so again, just give yourself a moment to have whatever initial emotional response comes up for you, but also just hold space to be able to return to something, knowing that actually you get to change your mind. And it's, you know, a powerful time, especially in Pisces energy with that mutability, to just say to yourself, you know, I'm not bound. Like, I do get to, you know, revisit anything that I have said yes or committed to, or, you know, decided upon, and review whether it still feels good for me or still feels right for me. And that's really so much where Venus and then Mercury retrograde and asteroid goddess Juno shifting retrograde in Sagittarius on the 19th, you know, all of these energies are very beneficial in helping you to review, renegotiate and redefine whether things, including relationships, including how you see yourself, the value that's being offered to you and that you feel you offer, is still valid, right? So what needs to shift or change? Now, your Nine of Wands does tell me just be mindful around some depletion energy. And it could just be that somebody is rubbing you up, or something is underway that just feels like perhaps a bit obligatory, and you would really love to be free of it, but you're not quite there, and you just have to keep pursuing and pressing ahead, because soon enough this will no longer be a part of your pathway, or something that you have to endure or accept in the same way or on the same terms. But for now, and it might just be slightly amplified in the month of March, just with the way the energy is moving, you know, it's here, and you just have to keep a check on how it's impacting you, especially physically, and ensure that you put some measures in place and some sacred tools. Again, those sixes tell me that, you know, health, well-being, also that full moon in Virgo, you know, wants to ensure that mind, body, soul is as balanced and in equilibrium as it can be. Equinox, of course, going to be supporting that bigger reset energy. There's something around the trust, and maybe you're not quite trusting of someone. Maybe there's that energy. Sometimes Venus retrograde, it can highlight problems, female relationships especially. So if there's a little bit of a trust thing being brought into the spotlight for you as well, there's a reminder around your spiritual journey and the spiritual work that you've taken up to this point. As I said, if there's a test, the lesson has already been completed. Now you're on the right side of that. You have changed, you've made adjustments, but, you know, expect that there are going to be things that come up that may test your patience, or may make you feel a bit stuck, or may trigger you in a more significant way. your King of Cups comes forth, and there's something quite impassioned about, you know, what they're presenting or sharing or divulging to you. And, you know, remember, through eclipse energies, there can be a lot of surprising things that come to light. I feel like you could have something a little bit left field. Perhaps somebody's announcing their feelings that they have for you, or they're going right back to something that happened in your past and sharing a perspective or giving information that wasn't available at the time. That could be a little bit unsettling, you know, because if you had a firm belief of what went down or how you felt about something or someone, and, you know, all of a sudden there's like a different way to interpret or a different context now that's been provided. But, you know, again, this is not about being harsh or judgmental on yourself or allowing anything to distract the focus of the plans and the priorities that you've got in place. Okay, this does matter. This is important. It feels like at times, you know, you're wondering how much messier things can get, but, you know, life is messy. You're not the one that's a mess, right? It just feels that more and more we're having to navigate through circumstances that are in such powerful states of flux energy that we really have to figure out how we maintain our sense of, you know, anchoredness. And, you know, you've done that. You've been developing those tools for years, right? You can look back and see how that's been shaped and carved within you. And it's just a time to remember that a little bit, as March can ruffle feathers a wee bit more than what we've been used to, if that's even possible. At the same time, remember that these retrograde energies can bring things in without any force, and that means in a positive way. So opportunities, ideas, inspirations, and I think that you have more than a few of these showing up in March in a way that feels quite enlightening. And maybe it's for a sort of, you know, I need to return to this, or I need to make time for this. So it's maybe not something you feel necessarily immediately able to act upon. However, it's strong enough that if it's your calling, it's going to keep calling, right? And it just does seem to me that there's a new direction that has been revealing itself for you, and it's gotten louder, and the path has gotten clearer, and there is coming this time, if it hasn't already happened, where you're being asked to kind of take that leap, sink or swim, and it may feel a bit risky, it may feel bold, but at the same time it's sort of pushing and pushing you. And we've got this solar eclipse new moon in Aries arriving at the end of the month, right? King of Swords, and it feels like there's a negotiation almost taking place around this time, and maybe your heart and your head are in deliberation about something quite significant. And, you know, that conflict, that sort of combative energy that Aries sometimes brings, and we'll be into that energy for you, you know, laterally in the month, you know, can also make you question like how secure you feel in any given situation or circumstance. And so there might be bigger shifts that, you know, you can see unfolding in your work, in your home life, places and environments that you spend time in, okay? Again, a reminder, any test is because you've already completed the lesson. But I see a strong negotiation having to happen, and I think you have to be strong and you have to be direct and not accept. You're the one that can set a standard here. There's almost a slight hesitancy, I feel, on your part. But it's sort of almost like, what have you got to lose? You know, what would be the worst that could happen? They could say no. You might find yourself in a position where you have to then walk away, but it just feels like you've claimed back, or you've demonstrated your value in some way, shape or form, and that is very important for your well-being at the moment and for your confidence, okay? I feel like you have choices coming, and it's not perhaps the choices that you'd necessarily expected that you were going to have at this time, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to be positive for you, because I feel like it sort of leads, it's like all roads lead to Rome. It's kind of like where you're trying to get to, and what you're going to appreciate from how March helps to enable that is something that perhaps you couldn't have cooked up in your own mind if you were trying to figure out a strategy or a plan, right? But this is an opportunity for you to sort of, in a way, take a step back, but then find by the end of the month you're taking a much bigger step forward in a direction that you hadn't anticipated, but it can end up being a spiritual shortcut. Like, that's the kind of vibe that I get for you through the course of this month, okay? people can be on the same page, but you also have to sort of work a little bit harder to kind of maintain and hold the energy and the space for that to happen. It can quite quickly dissipate, and if you're a bit tired or depleted, then it can be harder to do that. You know, if you're just trying to hold the energy of a group, for example, or a space where you're trying to get people all moving towards the same outcome or goal or focus. So something that it should be straightforward maybe feels a little tougher to achieve through the course of March, because there's a lot of distraction and people are feeling a little bit upheavaled in many different ways. And a lot of it is nothing to do with you. So again, it's important just to, I suppose, move through the month with this adage of I'm not taking anything personally, and remember that, and keep strong in your sense of self, okay? You were kind of made for this time, Capricorn, and everything has been building to this opportunity at this exact moment for you to see something in yourself, right? For you to see something in yourself that gives you the faith and the trust and the belief for this next bigger step. Now, Neptune is also shifting out of Pisces and into Aries on the 30th, so that equilibrium change is coming. You'll be feeling that. And of course, Venus and Mercury are also coming out of Aries and shifting into Pisces, so there's a change in the type of the tone of that astrological conversation coming in toward the end of March as well. It feels like some of the ideas, the dreams, the emotions that you've been feeling at times can be a bit confusing, but you know, when you go inward and find the stillness and settle into the silence away from the noise and the outside interference of others that seem to want to get all up about your business toward the end of the month, then what you're going to find is March is actually speaking very clearly to you, even though it felt like there was a lot of chaos and turbulence to sort of arrive at that point. That helping hand will also extend itself all the way through the month, okay? It feels like this is not a one-time offer. You've got someone or something that can provide and be an ongoing source of solace and soothing and practical insight and inspiration. So whether this is a new person, a coach, a friend, just a way for you to access something that just feels like it's a positive addition to your life, okay? If you're new to the channel, our last 3 cards we're going to look at in the extended reading. You can join me in the link below. We'll talk for another 25 minutes or so and look at a personal and a relationship cards, Capricorn. Let's just go ahead and clarify these cards, see the direction we're going to take this for you. We've got 4 of Swords, 10 of Swords. We've got the World and another King of Cups here. Could be a water sign, Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer. 9 of Cups, 8 of Swords coming in here. We've got the Chariot and the Knight of Wands. Strong movement cards showing up here. Remember, like, things from the past, versions of you from the past that you're meeting. That's where I feel that 5 and 3 are showing up. A lot of these sword energies, you know, are challenging the way that you think. Remember, you're in 3rd house through Pisces season, and it's important to recognize like how that is evolving. But it also means having to sometimes make plans or adjustments that can just support some short-term kind of tactical moves a little bit. There's another Ace of Pentacles showing up here, though. You see, this is something really to hold on to because it's guiding you powerfully. Let's have a look at Life Soul Vision Oracle. So this is my deck. You can find it along with my other titles, my journal and my book. You can find ways to work with me if you're after a personal reading. You can also discover my membership and other sacred products, all of which are created for your journey, over on romywiser.com. The link is below, so I hope you'll come say hello. Blossoming Soul Song, throat energy here. Mirrors of the Mind. A lot of that pink magenta energy coming through here, a lot of heart energy showing up. Venus retrograde definitely can be a challenging time around relationships, but it's also one of those seasons where you get to strengthen so much how much you respect, take care, value, nurture and nourish you. Okay, we have got the energy of home. May you be where a harmonious balance of love, strength, light and pleasure lives. How beautiful. Thank you for being here, Capricorn. I hope you'll join me on the extended. I'm going to see you there, and you have a great month ahead. Take care. Bye for now.